Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome to The Mortgage Show on CKNW. Manny Bazunas, along with accredited mortgage professional and best-selling author of The Mortgage Code, Angela Calla. Angela Calla, CALLA.ca. Angela, always in much demand every time that mortgage scenario moves an inch here or an inch there. Angela, you recently did an interview with Global News. In fact, it was on a couple of days ago. And what I really liked about it was that you went into detail. I know you and I touched on these first-time buyer incentives, but we didn't really get into the details, but you did on Global News. And I want to replay that interview, and then you and I are going to come back and talk about what this means for first-time buyers.
Well, buying your first home can be daunting and expensive, but there are several programs you can take advantage of to make your home purchase more affordable. Accredited mortgage professional Angela Calla with the Angela Calla Mortgage Team joins us now. Thanks for coming in today.
You're welcome. Good morning.
All right, so some good news for people who are looking to get into the housing market. Certainly a buyer's market right now.
Yes, it is.
So what are some of the incentives out there, and can any money be saved?
Yes, there's so many amazing opportunities that are out there. And really, when we take a look at the power that buyers have, it really is when you combine these resources together. So we had a big announcement that GST is now exempt from new build purchases. And so on $1 million purchase, that's $50,000 of savings. And you can also combine that because one of the other associated costs with making a purchase is property transfer tax. And on brand new purchases, that's exempt. And that's not only for first-time home buyers, that's also for any home buyer that's purchasing new construction. But there's another program that is known as the CMHC Eco Plus for energy efficiency. And many of these new builds meet that criteria. And so if you're getting an insured mortgage that's also a new build, you can get a 25% premium rebate. So on $1 million purchase, that could be about $72,800 right there in upfront savings.
That's a lot of money.
It is significant.
Yeah, $72,800. Yeah, it's a chunk. That's a chunk. That'll help you buy some furniture.
Exactly.
Okay, are there any common misconceptions or things that people are doing that maybe they shouldn't be?
Absolutely. The no GST, it's a very costly mistake to assume that is for assignment purchases. It's very strictly for new contracts that you're getting into from May 27th onward. So that's critical to understand. Also, another consideration is that property transfer tax can't be added to the mortgage. So when you're looking at a new build, that's an upfront cost that you don't have to have upfront and you don't have to have saved along with your down payment. So that can help people when they're looking at all their options in terms of getting into the market sooner. And then lastly, with the energy efficiency 25% rebate, directly where you get your mortgage is important because some lenders will apply the 25% rebate up front, which will provide reduced cost, improved qualification, and others don't handle it at all from a lending perspective. It's a post-application and funding responsibility of the borrower to obtain themselves. So often it can be missed entirely.
Totally. Yeah, if you have to start doing more homework.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, now, first-time home buyers, some of them might be in school still. Are there any professions that get a benefit from this?
Right now, first-time home buyers that are renting or living at home are in the absolute best position to buy because when they're making an offer, they're not making it subject to sale. And sellers right now have every right to be cautious about accepting those offers in today's uncertainty. So not having to have that subject when you're going in because you're renting or living at home gives you a competitive advantage. Also, we work with specific sectors to ensure that they can get into the market and build roots as soon as possible. As an example, we have a medical professionals program where people that are in the last years of residency or starting their career were able to use a projected income. So in residency, they may be able to qualify for a $300,000 mortgage, whereas we have the programs to model them them being able to be approved for $1 million in some circumstances. And those same types of programs where we can use projected income and look at all the outside factors that will contribute to the individual's success are also available for self-employed and other sectors as well.
Now, this is a lot of information to take in.
It is, yes.
So that's where you step in. People would like to get some information. They can look to someone like yourself?
Yes, they can reach out to me at angelacalla.ca. And the goal is not only to help with home ownership, but it's to set it up in a way that really helps you build and protect your wealth and your home security in the future.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
Angela
welcome.
Calla joining us today. Thanks.
Well, you're getting a reaction from that interview you did recently on Global News. Angela, are you seeing an uptick in the number of first-time buyers being educated, looking to see their options, trying to save some money, deciding to get off the fence? Mortgage rates are low. Are you seeing some movement with first-time buyers?
Manny, we absolutely are. And what I really enjoyed about being able to share that segment on Global News was really all the savings that are available. And what I can tell you, Manny, is that with the amount of supply on the market, I would highly suspect that more options are going to be coming forward. So knowing that if you can go out and find something within your budget and become a homeowner today, it's going to help you, because we are going to have to come out with programs and products similar to what we've done in previous years to be able to absorb this product forward. And that can be done in multiple ways, Manny. We could look at potentially opening up the foreign buyers again, so the foreign buyers will either absorb the product, or we will have to modify the stress test, which we're expecting a news release on in the fall, and we will have to change amortizations, and potentially, I know that back in 2000 and back over a decade and a half ago, we had no down payment for qualified borrowers as well, combined with 40-year mortgages. So we need to look outside of monetary policy and temporary exemptions in order to be able to absorb the product that we've got, because it's great if we want to build more housing for Canadians, but it's got to be housing that people can actually have an option to live in terms of qualifying, affordability, down payment, all of those factors combined. So I would suspect that much more is coming, and there are some great options today. And whether you're looking at making a purchase in the next few months or the next few years, wherever you are in your journey, my team is there to help you. And if you'd like some more specific information about the variety of programs that are available to help you save tens of thousands of dollars up front, that is all the programs I talked about on Global News are on my website, on my blog, on clickable links that go directly to the government website that show the exact breakdown of how and who that applies to.
AngelaCalla.ca, Angela Calla, CALLA.ca. There is an abundance of inventory. In other words, there are lots of places for sale, Angela. And with these incentives, and as you point out, and I think quite correctly, if the government wants to change some of the rules to fill up some of this inventory and get that real estate market back into a better state of balance, they have got to keep coming up with new ways to get first-time buyers into the market. There are people like myself who have been, long ago a first-time buyer, but there's no incentive for me to move anywhere. I've got a place, but there's got to be incentives for first-time buyers. And with rents not really getting any lower, I mean, why wouldn't you make some of this inventory more available?
Exactly. And we know people, some people that want to move up the property ladder might be thinking right now, well, great, this doesn't help me. But it does, because once that product gets absorbed into the marketplace, the rest of the market will move accordingly.
AngelaCalla.ca. If you're a first-time buyer, at least thinking of buying, get a hold of Angela and she'll roll out all these money-saving options for you. There is no fee for Angela's service. And by the way, we're going to speak with a first-time buyer who went to the Angela Calla mortgage team a little bit later on this edition of The Mortgage Show on CKNW. Manny Bazunas, along with accredited mortgage professional Angela Calla. Angela Calla, CALLA.ca. Back in a moment. Welcome back to The Mortgage Show on CKNW. Manny Bazunas, along with accredited mortgage professional and best-selling author of The Mortgage Code, Angela Calla. Angela Calla, CALLA.ca. So pleased you could be with us. We are heard at this hour every weekend on CKNW. Time now for our resident real estate expert from Royal LePage, one Robert Boys. An interesting listing this week, Rob. A lakefront townhome in Osoyoos, 3-bedroom with a den, sleeps 10. 729,000. But here's the opportunity. You can buy a 1/4 interest. You call it a fractional interest.
For sure, Manny. Now look at this is a beautiful location. If anybody knows Osoyoos, and if you're like me, you started camping up there as a teenager or a kid. And camping, unfortunately, is harder and harder to do up in Osoyoos. It's more of a boutique resorts, and there's definitely still some RV parks and whatnot that you can enjoy, although most of those are owned outright. So look at this unit, fully furnished, Airbnb compliant. It's in what's called a resort residential neighborhood or little community. Pool, hot tub, 300 feet of private beach, large dock. And once again, within this zoning is an optional rental pool. So you can put it in a rental pool there when you're not, as the owner, living in the unit. You're not forced into the rental pool. You can do your own Airbnb, but it's completely set up for you. And this is perfectly structured if you want to purchase this with friends and family. As the listing agent, I'm the listing agent, I will pay for the legal work so that you can purchase it in 1/4 or 1/3 or 50-50 interest. We'll just attach an addendum, lay out what the cost structure is. Like any other strata property, there is a strata fee. It's not super expensive strata fee. And then how do you split the revenue, or how do you split the usage, and how are you going to rent that time out, or once again, use it for yourself? It's an optional rental pool. You're not forced to. The unit is 104-5401 Lakeshore Drive, Casa de Mila Oro. It's that kind of really cool adobe looking complex right on the corner as you come down off the highway. It's well down off the highway. Once again, it's on the lakefront on Lakeshore Drive in Osoyoos.
Of course, you can always buy the whole thing and then not have to worry about taking on partners and drawing up agreements. But let's take for a moment, Robert, that you do have a partner. It's like a marriage. You got to have like a prenup and a post-nup. Got to have an agreement going in and an agreement if things don't work out or one person wants to move on. What are some of the options people can look at? There's shotgun clauses. There are all kinds of things when you want to separate from your partner. Can we take care of all of that with the legal work?
For sure, Manny. Brilliant point. I really appreciate you bringing that up because I didn't have it here in the prep. But in any business, now I know we're talking about 104-5401 Lakeshore Drive, but in any business, when the idea is fresh and the feelings are good, you always need an exit strategy. For entrepreneurs out there, sometimes that is a big buyout. In this case, we definitely want to know how to exit if one of the parties wants to move on. Most of the time, that is a first right of refusal with a time clause. So if you want to sell your 1/4 interest, 1/3 interest, half interest, you'd have to give the other party 45 days to purchase you out at market evaluation. We would determine how to determine market evaluation. Sometimes that's just an appraisal at that time. And if the parties don't agree on what that price is, or they don't meet the time clause, then it can just go onto the open market. So yes, excellent. You should always know how you're going to exit this. Shotgun clause is for another segment, but there's shotgun clause where you can force somebody out at a certain value, and if you don't take that offer, then it reverses back where they can buy you out at that amount. So shotgun clause is maybe something we should cover one day.
Well, let's use that as an example with this particular property. Let's say you buy with a partner, and that partner unfortunately passes away, and the heirs to that particular portion are now in a disagreement on what to do. So how do you get away from these people? This wasn't the party that you bought the place with. These are the heirs to the person you bought the property with. So Rob raises a good point. You got to have that agreement down pat. In any event, it's an awesome opportunity for someone to get onto a lakeshore, lakefront property. robboys.com is how you reach out to Robert, ROBBOIES.com. Robert, you got yourself involved. In fact, you're the inventor of and the CEO of rented123.com. This is an app that's really taking off. It's an app that you designed for both tenants and landlords. But for the sake of our time today on The Mortgage Show, landlords, this is really a worry-free assistant for you for very few dollars.
Yeah, for sure, Manny. I set out as somebody who is in this sector. Not only am I a realtor, but I also do rental placements. And there's a lot of misinformation. Much of the conflict starts with misinformation, and a lot of people leave their units, homeowners, investors leave units, basement suites, condos, houses vacant because they don't want to get caught up in disputes. So the way to ensure that you don't get a dispute is properly vet. And I want to manage the entire process for you, and we're available. We have a flat fee model and a franchise model as well. So we're developing out into just about every community with a trusted process. But some people are feeling, because rents are coming down, rental units are sitting on the market very long. You can use our tools for as low as $21 a month. So you get an ID verification with an AI selfie confirmation, 210 country IDs, 64 data points. That's $5. You just send that out to the tenant. They do that through their phone. A credit score. Yeah, we have access to the full credit report, but all you really need is the credit score. Once again, both those available in a PDF. And then our own intellectual property. We have developed what we call the intelligent background check. And I was the test model on that. They found things about me that I had completely forgot about. So it does a deep dive on the court system, social media, professional posts, media posts, employment histories, all that kind of stuff. You get back an instant PDF with a score. So low risk, medium risk, high risk. Most of your medium risk ends up with people who are new to country or people who are just starting out on their own, and the system wasn't able to collect a lot of data points, a lot of background information. That complete package is only $21. You can pay for that as the landlord. You can push that onto the tenant. Right now it's because the market has shifted. The landlord's going to probably need to pick that up. And if you don't want to have any communication with them, you can put them on a rented 123 bronze, or even better, a silver membership for as low as $6 a month. And we do all the communication. Captain Cashflow is there for them to make sure they're an informed tenant and you're an informed landlord, and really eliminates all the strife. So vet them up front, know who you're dealing with, and nothing's 100%. We get that. Good people do bad stuff, have a bad day occasionally. We can't completely mitigate all that, but we can make your decision that much more intelligent. Better yet, put them on a silver membership, report their on-time rent payments, grow out their credit profile for them just by paying the rent. Tenants, you don't have to be managed by Rented 123. You can join our membership. First 2 months are free, $10 a month. Grow your opportunities with Rented 123.
Rob Boys, rented123.com is how you reach out to Robert on this fabulous app. I don't think there is a week goes by, Robert, when I don't see a story of a landlord-tenant dispute. Oftentimes, that dispute begins with having the wrong tenant. Sure, there are landlords who are at fault, but if you want to be as clear as you can be, and you say you mitigate as much as possible, you've got to vet folks. And like you say, you were the test case. They found things about you that you probably didn't even remember. But this is really critical when you're a landlord, to make sure you have got the right person, an honest person, a person who's going to pay their rent, a person who's not going to trash your property. And you've got to have a good relationship. And the only way to do it is to vet that person.
Yeah, 100%, Manny. You need to know who you're dealing with. And that, it's surprising, Manny. And part of what I set out to do here is to keep bad people with bad intentions, just not good character, getting into my rental properties. And I have one specific property right now in the southern Okanagan, not the one we have for sale that we mentioned earlier. And I have people who refuse to be vetted. Well, what does that tell you? They know we're going to find things. They refuse to have their ID verified. They refuse to go through a credit check. And look, it's optional. It's just not optional on properties that Rented 123 manage or partner with, where our landlords are using to vet the tenant through the Rented 123 platform. And look, if they don't want to go through a vetting process, what they want to do is they want to give you some fake names. They've arranged with a friend to verify that they're a good tenant. And then once you have them in the property, it's very, very hard to move them on. Look, not all people are bad people. We get it. And the vast majority, 99% of rental transactions take place without any problems. It's that potential of the problem that is leaving properties empty because landlords don't want to get into that situation.
Rented 123. Thank you, Rob Boys. Rented123.com is how you reach out. You are listening to The Mortgage Show on CKNW. I'm Manny Bazunas. Back in a moment. Welcome back to The Mortgage Show on CKNW. Manny Bazunas, along with accredited mortgage professional and best-selling author of The Mortgage Code. Available on Amazon. Proceeds to worthwhile causes in the community. AngelaCalla.ca is how you reach out to Angela. We made a promise in the first segment of the show when we talked about first-time buyer incentives that Angela talked about, not only on this show, but on Global News fairly recently. Did a big segment on that and got quite a response from first-time buyers looking at some of these incentives that would help them get into the market. And I promised you at the time, at the top of this show, that we would feature a first-time buyer who went through the Angela Calla mortgage team. His name is Aiken. He's a first-time buyer in, of all places, that hotbed of romance, iniquity, fortune, intrigue, danger, and the Calgary Stampede. Calgary, Alberta. You recently caught up with Aiken via the Zoom, and let's play that now for you and have a listen to just how pleased he is about not only the move to Calgary, but the fact that the process was really easy with the Angela Calla mortgage team.
Well, it's such a pleasure. Now, would you mind sharing with our team a little bit about what inspired you to reach out to us in the first place?
Yeah, so the home buying process is always a little bit scary. I'm a first-time home buyer myself, and I just didn't know where to start, a lot of things to read up online. And then the first thing I look towards is referrals. So what have my friends experienced? Have they worked with great people? My partner's friend referred you guys, and just during the initial conversation, I got some really good vibes from you and thought it might be a good fit. So I want to move forward and ask more questions.
Oh, that's amazing. We do the majority of our practice through referrals of family members and friends. So that's always so heartwarming. We always look to take good care of our family, as you know.
Mhm.
And so first-time home buyer, share with me a little bit about that journey. And I'm hoping that maybe you'll share a little bit about where you started and where you ended up.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Vancouver, where kind of buying a home isn't within the realm of possibility, I guess, for someone as young as me. It's definitely later down the road and a lot more of a burden. But I moved to Calgary because my partner has work here and I work fully remote. When I moved to Calgary, it seemed like the prices were a lot more affordable, and renting, it just makes a lot more sense to purchase a place. So took a look at a few options. I thought that the condo that I'm in right now was a pretty good fit. It's in the university area. So then I just started doing my due diligence, reading the forums, reading different websites, seeing what kind of questions I have to ask and kind of what sort of people I have to look for, if it's through a bank to get a mortgage or through a mortgage broker, real estate agents, asking them the right questions. So I found you guys, and then it was smooth sailing from there. It's kind of where I am now.
Well, that's amazing. And I see you're in your new home. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All settled now after the summer.
Yeah, we had to do a couple of renovations, painted the walls, added in some new flooring because the carpet wasn't too nice, but overall it's been really great.
Well, I couldn't have explained it better myself. You're amongst many British Columbians that, if they have the opportunity to work remotely, have decided that in order to get their money working for them as soon as possible, to move over to Calgary. So how's the weather over there? What's the biggest adjustment?
I think the biggest adjustment might be how sprawling Calgary is. So as affordable as Calgary is, there are pros and cons. I do miss the food in Vancouver. I do miss the walkability and the transit. But Calgary is quite nice. You just have to drive everywhere because there's a lot of highways, a lot of roads, but it's close to the mountains, which I quite like. It's a short drive to Katanastes if you want to go hiking. There's also a beautiful Bow River that runs across. So in the summer, people go stand-up paddleboarding there, or you can enjoy Prince Island Park. So overall, pretty nice. Also, the winters were long. I feel like I was a fake Canadian in Vancouver. Never really snows in Vancouver, but here it's a lot more snow.
Yeah. Well, we're just excited for you that you can get your first home. And I think getting into the market is one thing, and we'll continue to help you over the years. And as you build equity, you'll have nothing but options moving forward for you and your family.
Fingers crossed there. It's been an exciting journey for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So with all the experience that you've had, what would you recommend to others that are looking at getting a mortgage?
I would say, regardless of how good the people you're working with are, it's really important to understand the process yourself. What I found really helpful was you guys answered a lot of my questions, but I had to have questions to begin with, do some reading online, making sure that I start understanding the process. Because if I don't know where to even begin, I don't really know where I should be kind of asking the questions and getting that nitty-gritty information. Yeah, so I found that to be quite helpful to do the readings. And I think once you get over the initial shock, you'll realize it's not as scary as you thought. As long as the numbers line up, as long as you do your due diligence, as long as everything is kind of done in the right process, buying a home is a scary first hurdle, but definitely manageable and not as bad as many people think.
Excellent. And what was your experience like working specifically with our team?
I really liked how you guys were accessible in answering my questions. I had a very, very long list of questions, and I didn't feel rushed. Everything, the process was clear. I believe one of folks helping me was out on vacation sometimes, so we had different members of the team assisting me, but I didn't feel like that was confusing. Felt like you guys had a tight internal communication and that everything was still seamless despite having several people on my file. And I look forward to our yearly chats. I mentioned this before, but it seems like it genuinely feels like you guys are working to help make this process better for me. So I look forward to kind of like looking at the mortgage again, seeing how we can reevaluate and improve it. And that continuous service is really nice.
Absolutely. And I think that's really the difference, working with us specifically is we have a different proactive approach, and everybody is at an understanding of where the file is at all times. So you don't feel the stress of, the reality of having to rely only on one person, which when you think about it and you think about what the alternative is, you almost wonder how you ever in the past may have just relied on one person, because you're then susceptible to their schedule. But when you have a team of people who are all working towards the same goal with you, you can rest assured that you don't have to re-explain everything to everyone, and everybody has your common goal in mind to start.
For sure. And it's the thought of just signing off when your mortgage comes up again, and then you just go to a bank and then you just renew it automatically without kind of doing your homework all over again and reevaluating it. That's a little bit scary because the banks just give you whatever rate they want to give you. So.
Yeah, and they always have a bias. And, people always ask me all the time, they say, what's the best bank out there? Who's your favorite bank? Who's your favorite credit union? Who's your favorite lender? And my answer is always the same. It always changes. Sometimes certain lenders are good at certain things, and we're just grateful to have so much competition in the space, because then we can uniquely design and align you with who is the best fit for your specific goal and your specific life stage and circumstances. And that will always change. And so fundamentally, I know that you're with one of the best lenders in the country, because they have the lowest, what's known as the IRD, because when you're comparing all the banks and trust companies and credit unions, one of the things that we look to do, provided you qualify, is we look to put you with a lender that doesn't use posted rates to give you the discount. Because when people are quote unquote advertising a rate, they're generally doing that for a reason. But if they're advertising it from what the posted is, what they don't tell you, because they're only working for that lender and their goal is to get the business, is they don't tell you that discount that was used against you is actually going to work against you in the future if you need to make a modification. So you're with a monoline lender where you wouldn't have that circumstance if you needed to make a change. So a lot of well-qualified Canadians are unaware of that. They say, well, how it was explained to me is at my bank, I got the best discount -2% or -1.5%. And you think that it's based on the rate when you're very right. It's based on the overall cost of borrowing and the modifications that you make to your mortgage throughout the years in order to get ahead. And, you purchased at a perfect time before interest rates really started to rise. But well, as we go through the annual reviews, you'll notice that we will recommend that you increase your payments to stay with inflation throughout time. So regardless of what happens in the market, you won't suffer from payment shock from going from a really low interest rate to where interest rates could be at the time. But of course, we don't know where rates will be at that time, but having that ongoing management will help modify the strategy that you'll have, and it'll help protect your equity as well.
It's a really scary time, but I think as we've found is everything that you said. And also my rate, it seems like the rate that you guys got for me was just astonishingly low in the first place. A lot of when people ask me, what's your rate on your new house? And then they just couldn't believe it because every other rate they've heard was just so much higher.
Exactly. And, you are to credit for that, though, because you started early. So starting the process early compared to when you think you're going to buy, the earlier you start, if the moment that you're thinking about it, it gives you a significant market advantage, because not only can you modify your price because you qualify for more, but you get a lower interest rate secured than if you just start exactly when you want to go buy a place and then you're only dealing with those market circumstances. So you are equally proactive and the perfect person to get the benefits of what's out there because of your collaboration and alignment to make sure that we're working together to do everything we can to help you moving forward. So it's just been an absolute pleasure. My team and I are really, really happy for you. We give you our warmest congratulations, and we look forward to helping you for the years to come.
I feel like this conversation was to sing praises about you guys, but I didn't expect you guys to do the same for me. And I'm just like blushing a little. Like, thank you for the kind words.
Oh, you're welcome. It was a pleasure to work with you. And it's because of your commitment to learning and your commitment to doing whatever you can to put yourself in the best situation that I know that you're going to be significantly financially ahead of your peers, and you will continue to surprise your peers as a result, because you do the work, you make sure you align with the right people, you have an understanding of the questions to ask, and you ask the questions so you gain the clarity, and with clarity is power. So you are one powerful woman.
Well, I hope so. There's just so much to go through. I feel like it's constantly a learning process. Every time I find out one thing, it's like you dig a little deeper and there's more to it. So
Always.
It's a never-ending learning journey.
Yeah, life is lifelong learning. So it's just so great. We couldn't be any more happy to have you as a part of our family, and we are here for you and your loved ones for the decades to come.
For sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to, as I said, the yearly calls, and I think it'll be really good.
Excellent. Well, we know we have a friend now in Calgary too.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks again.
Okay. Thank you, Angela. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Pretty nice, Angela. Smooth sailing all around.
Yeah, and it's just so exciting, Manny, because with particular individuals, if they're not location specific, they really can't move anywhere. And so we do have a lot of British Columbians that are moving to our neighboring province, Alberta, to build some equity, or at least ensure that they're not putting 100% of their payment into someone else's mortgage. They want to pay their own. So it's been really exciting to be able to contribute to that. And it's always one call away to see who are we going to help next.
Yeah, I just think it's so exciting, not only, as a first-time buyer. I mean, we kind of get used to our own market here on the West Coast, and you go, okay, so the prices are up, and now they're down, and now they're leveling off. But the excitement about moving your entire family to a whole new city, And we've all got friends that have done that. I just think is a really exciting prospect. And as Angela quite rightly points out, and as Aiken mentioned, the process is really, really easy. There's no fee for Angela's service. AngelaCalla.ca, AngelaCalla.ca. You want flexibility in your mortgage? That's one of the number one things people are asking Angela about. And when we come back to the next segment of the Mortgage Show, Lindsay is going to talk to us about this new mortgage that she got on a mortgage renewal. Thanks to her husband listening to the show, she got a hold of Angela, and the flexibility in their new mortgage was absolutely outstanding. When we come back to the Mortgage Show on CKNW, I'm Manny Bazunas. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the Mortgage Show on CKNW. Manny Bazunas, along with accredited mortgage professional and best-selling author Angela Calla. Angela Calla, CALLA.ca. Always nice when your husband or wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, son or daughter listens to the radio program and says to you over the dinner table, hey, get a hold of the Angela Calla mortgage team. She is working miracles with mortgages every day. And that's exactly what happened with Lindsay. Her husband listens to the show going to and from work every day. They were looking for a mortgage renewal and got a hold of the Angela Calla mortgage team. And Lindsay, welcome to the show. Let's kick off our chat by telling how you first got in touch with Angela.
Well, my husband actually heard about the Angela Calla team on the radio when he was either driving to work or home from work. And this was quite a while ago, and we weren't near needing to renew our mortgage. But when the time came, he actually remembered. So, yeah, that's how we heard about them.
Well, that's the purpose of doing the show, is hopefully folks like you and your husband will listen to it and seek out Angela's professional advice. You were looking for a mortgage renewal. How did it go?
It was great, actually. We have a pretty new baby. She's almost 5 months old, so most of the interactions were done over the phone and email, which was really convenient for us because it's really hard to get out with a new baby, especially for time-sensitive appointments. And, I spoke with John over the phone, and he was really great, answered all of my questions. Didn't make me feel once like I was inconveniencing him, because it's really sad that these days sometimes that's what, businesses make you feel like if you have a lot of questions. And that's how it started. We went from there. We did go into an in-person interview as well and went over all the details. Overall, it was just a really great experience.
Well, you weren't too happy with the lender that you were with. What were some of the things that they were telling you that you weren't too pleased with?
Well, we didn't really know better at the time. It was our first mortgage, and I was already with that particular bank. So we just thought that was the best thing we were doing. We thought it was all about the rate. But what we learned with the help of the Angela Calla team is that there are so many things that they don't tell you, like fees and things like that. And it's just a lot more inconvenient. You talk to somebody different every time, and you just don't really know what's going on. There's not really a peace of mind, and you don't really feel like you're taken care of, because it's such a significant thing in your life, the mortgage, and it's a lot of money. And the flexibility of going through a mortgage broker is really reassuring as well.
Well, you mentioned that you weren't thrilled with what the lender was offering and difficulty getting through, et cetera. When you finally got the mortgage you wanted with the Angela Calla mortgage team, there were some better terms included in that mortgage.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the best parts for us, because we're a growing family, is the flexibility of, there's not as many fees if you need to get out of the mortgage. So, for example, right now we're living in an apartment, and, we plan on having more children, but 5 years, that's, a lot can change in 5 years with a growing family. So the most important thing for us was that flexibility and the much lower fees for changing your mortgage. So that was pretty much what won it over for us.
And I take it that when you finally decided on the mortgage you wanted, of course, it was something that was working for your future. It wasn't, 2 or 3 months down the road. You mentioned you have a little girl and the possibility of expanding your family, so it's always good to look 2, 3, 5 years down the road, and they helped you with that.
Yes, they did. And, when we were there, it just felt like when we walked in, it was just such a nice office, and the whole environment and the vibe was so positive. It just felt like we've been there before, and we haven't. We've never been there. They even, they dimmed the lights for our daughter who we had to bring in, and, we met everybody pretty much, and it was such a good feeling. It felt like we knew them forever.
Well, Angela can relate to a young mother with a young daughter. She's got 2 children of her own, so I think she understood when you came into the office that those lights needed to be dimmed to give that little girl some peace and quiet. And you're moving and forging ahead.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're extremely happy with our decision, and as long as they're in business and we are having a home that we own, I don't imagine we'll be switching anywhere else in the future.
Well, I understand you're referring Angela's team to other friends and family. What advice would you give folks who are looking either for a first mortgage or a mortgage renewal or restructuring?
I would definitely refer the Angela Calla team. And I actually, one of my friends, I already did. And I would just say, explore your options. If you've heard anything negative about a mortgage broker, just put that aside and just give it a shot and, see what they have to say, because it never, hurts to try. It's, sometimes it's a bit of an effort. Life is busy, but it's your life, it's your home, it's your money, and just go for it.
She really liked the easy process, Angela. She thought it was all about the interest rate, but as you and I often talk about on this show, wow, it's a whole lot more than just the interest rate.
Yes, it's so much more than the interest rate. It's the terms, it's the access to timely information so you can make decisions at a time which is going to be most financially beneficial for you, and the ongoing management of the mortgage, and just that unbiased advice moving forward. It's so exciting to be able to get people started on the right foot.
In the 1 minute or so we've got remaining, Angela, she talked about the flexibility, the options, and the flexibility of the mortgage that you got for this particular family. What do we mean by flexibility in a mortgage?
Well, we all face uncertainty in our lives, and so being able to have a mortgage where the penalty is going to be lower compared to other lenders gives you the ability to make modifications and make changes when it works for you, and not be stuck at certain points where it's only beneficial, at the end of the term. So with that ongoing management and that flexibility, when you're comparing it, if you compare a $500,000 mortgage, you can have the same interest rate, but one can be $25,000 to exit and the other can be $6,000 to exit. So there's a $19,000 savings that could be there in the future for you should you want to make a modification. And people think, oh, well, I'm not going to move. I'm not going to get a new job. I'm not going to get divorced. I'm not going to have another kid. I'm going to love all my neighbors. Nothing's ever going to happen to me. And it's always the people that say, nothing's ever going to happen to me that call. And then it's, there's changes that have to happen. And when you list your home, if you've got more flexibility with your pricing, then you'll be in a position to move a little bit quicker too, right? And if you don't have to pay a larger penalty, if you do qualify for a monoline lender as an example, then with those details, it just gives you the options to design whatever life works better for you.
Excellent, Angela. We encourage everyone who's listening to the radio program today to get a hold of Angela, angelacalla.ca. You have been listening to The Mortgage Show on CKNW. I'm Manny Bazunas. We'll see you next time.